Welcome to Ordinary People, Extraordinary Connections, a podcast all about helping you comfortably connect with others in any situation. Hosted by Leanne and John, this podcast is proudly brought to you by Fortitude at Work. fortitudeatwork.com.au.
Welcome everybody to Ordinary People, Extraordinary Connections. This is a pretty exciting time, isn't it, John? Because it's our very first podcast and this is our intro session. So
it is. It's the first one. So the first, all you people out there that have been waiting for this is it. It's Leanne and it's John, and we're going to carry on like this for the next 10 or 15 minutes, and then we're going to carry on in a whole big blocks of time going off into the future with really interesting stuff about how to connect to people. Hopefully. That's what we're going to try to do.
Yeah, I guess the aim of the game is to try and make some interesting conversation, right? And we tend to have these sorts of conversations when we're out and about, don't we? Because we go out, on date night once a week.
We do, and we have late night philosophical conversations like most couples do, I'm guessing, although I think we're a little weird because we go a little bit more into our experiences, and we're very authentic people. We talk about our feelings with each other, and we talk about our feelings to people around us, which is probably annoying for some of them. Yeah, we're a bit strange, but hopefully some people will get what we're trying to do.
Yeah. So, we want to kind of expose ourselves, really, don't we?
So to speak, yes. Okay, so we'll be exposing ourselves, and you can think yourselves very lucky that it's in a podcast and not a vlog. Okay?
That's right.
Yeah.
So, I guess the first thing we wanted to talk about is why are we bothering? Really, what's the point? What's the point of doing this? And I know for me, I think in my workplace, and I work with a lot of small business people or people who have small business customers. That's been my passion for quite a few years. But generally, people are people. So, might be a small business background, but really we go home to our partners and our family and our neighbours. So for me, I guess it's about being able to help people to better connect with one another if they choose to.
That's true. And in my life over the years of being present to people in different forums with over the phone and face to face, often I'm asked those questions about, what are the skills, what are the little idiosyncrasies that you use to connect to people and to feel, for people to feel like they're being heard, that sort of thing. So, so I'm guessing this forum that we're putting together here is going to answer those questions.
And I guess all we can really do is talk about them from our own experiences.
Yep.
Perhaps with a little bit of our education thrown in along the way as well. But I was really keen to get to some of the nitty-gritty topics, I guess, and areas that we don't always talk about. I spent years and years and years as a corporate trainer, and it was really easy to talk to people about how you might create empathy or how you are assertive versus being aggressive. But it's far more interesting, I think, to explore the really difficult emotions.
Yeah. I think when you're faced with a person that you love, or even just someone you know in a work situation, having not knowing how to cope with that is, I found that's been a problem for some. If they're presented with someone who's upset or someone who's crying or even suicidal for that matter, how do you help that person is the big question usually. Yeah.
People who might want to reach out to others, they might even be afraid to do it for fear of, opening a can of worms, or, it might be too close to home. For some people, might trigger their own issues.
Yeah, and in the experience that I've had when people have asked me about how to be present to people when, or to connect to someone who's in pain, it's always, I wish I knew what to say. I wish I knew what to do. And for those that have lost friends and loved ones, they often spend a lot of time going, I wish I'd done this, or should I have done that? A lot of regret, a lot of fear.
Yeah.
So we're sort of hoping that in these conversations that we have, we can shed a bit of light on how it is for you to be present to someone and to connect with them.
And perhaps not be as afraid.
Yeah.
or know that it's okay.
A few strategies, a few tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, look, I think the aim of Ordinary People and Extraordinary Connections is to be able to, as I said, cover a whole range of topics. And some of those topics I thought we might do would be, I thought we might set it in a bit of a sort of a question where you could slot in the appropriate thing, for want of a better word. So the idea, as I've mentioned, is to look at both, personal, what might happen personally, but also it might be something that happens for you at work or a small business client, or it might be, I work in a large government department and the person in the cubicle next to me is having this experience. What do I do? So all sorts of work situations as well. Yeah. So what I thought we might do is we might start each podcast with a bit of a statement that we could then go ahead and answer. So, for example, I was thinking something like, my client is angry.
Yep.
What do I do? But you could substitute client to be, my mother is angry.
Yeah, or my son or my daughter. Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
My work colleague is angry.
Yeah.
And then I thought, gee, we could even, because we want to explore all these different emotions and tackle the tough ones, we might substitute each week, fortnight. Sorry, we don't want to do each week. We're not that prepared.
No, we're not. We're not that good.
No.
We're not that good. Clearly.
So each fortnight, if you're lucky.
Yep. If we can conjure up enough of our wisdom once a fortnight, then we'll just vomit it out into the microphone for you wonderful people.
So we will conquer the sorts of emotions that include things like anger, fearful,
Yep.
Overjoyed. Let's not forget all the positive stuff too,
Yeah.
My work colleague is driving me crazy because they're incessantly happy all the time.
I hate those happy people.
That's right.
Absolutely, yeah.
What do I do?
How do I cope with all of this happiness all around?
That's right.
Yeah.
It might be something like, my client is yelling. Maybe you work at McDonald's and you've just told a customer that they're going to have to wait 3 minutes for their burger, and they start screaming at you over the counter. So, my client, my sister, my mother, my brother, whatever,
Absolutely.
is yelling. And we had quite a few others. But it might be something really as simple and subjective as, my brother's really dumb.
Yeah.
What do I do? Which would be in your opinion, I guess, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And your experience over the years with mediation and conflict resolution, and my experience with trying desperately to help people in pain, I think if we can just roll that together into these podcasts and have these headings above them, or beginning of them, then you as a listener can go, oh look, there's one on pain, there's one on happiness, there's one on crying, there's one on arguments, that sort of thing, and you can pick and choose the one you want to listen to.
Yeah, that's the idea, is that we build a bit of a catalogue
Yep.
for all different scenarios. And the reason that I really wanted to do it is because I think fundamentally, something I've particularly learnt over the last few years is there's no escaping the fact that we're connected to one another. Even if I live alone with my cat in my apartment, I'm still having to go into the world.
Yeah.
And I'm connected.
Yeah, and my experience, both personally and with others, is that the fear of disconnection is often the basis for all people's pain and their sadness. So having a connection to the world and to other people and to yourself is really important. That compassion for yourself and for the people around you, and like you say, the connection. So we'll help with the tools and strategies and our experience.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I hope that it'll probably cover old ground for some people, a bit of new ground along the way, perhaps some food for thought.
That's it, and we'll take feedback along the way. So if anyone wants to hear more or know more, or we can certainly go and do a bit of research and add to that, and be like painting the Harbour Bridge. We might start again one day, because at the moment we only know what we know. We don't actually know what we don't know. So as we go forward, we may learn more, and then we can share that with each other and with you.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's certainly the aim. So the way the sessions will go, ultimately it'll be each fortnight, and I'll touch more on that in just a moment. But it'll come down to you and I, John and I, having a discussion.
That's it.
And I guess it's a bit, you get a chance to be a bit voyeuristic, I guess. You could almost pull up a spot at our table on a Tuesday night, which is date night, right?
That is. You can come to our date night, you poor people. You poor people. We'll carry on, and this will be great. I think it'll be good for our relationship as a couple, and also I think it'll be great for each other and our own personal growth. And if there's a side effect that someone listening in gets some value from it, then I don't think it could hurt, yeah?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly. So the idea is that we'll just have some general discussion. You can tune in, come to date night if you want to. The plan ultimately is to offer up a new podcast every fortnight. I am still the newbie, so I'm driving the podcast bus at this house, and I need to learn how to actually make it all happen. So if we do every fortnight, I expect my podcasting driver skills are going to get better and better as we go along too.
And I'll sit up at the back seat of the bus like I always did at school, and I'll just watch and listen and see what happens.
As long as you don't taunt me.
No chance.
And then, if we want to extend the conversation beyond what happens at the podcast, and I'll put some notes in the show notes every week that'll summarise what we're talking about. But we could always extend the conversation on my Facebook page, which is Fortitude at Work, my business page.
Yep.
So we'll put a notice up each fortnight about it, about us going live, what the topic is, and we could have a discussion if anyone wants to. Otherwise, you can just leave comments wherever you happen to be lucky enough to find the podcast.
And if you happen to hear a dog barking or a cat meowing in the background, that all adds to the ambience.
That's right, it does. And the realism.
And the authenticity of what we're doing. So we carried on enough? I don't know. Where are we
I think we have. Just one more thing I need to mention.
Okay.
In our first week, so if you're listening to this on our very first launch date, it'd be around the end of August. So in our first week, we're going to launch a couple of podcasts every few days or so, just so you can get an idea or into the groove of what we're all about, and then we'll settle down to doing every fortnight from there on in.
Okay.
Does that sound okay to you, Johnny?
I'm in.
Excellent, me too. All right, well, listen, thanks everyone for listening today, and stand by for our first topic. And what are we talking about in the first topic, John?
I have absolutely no idea.
We're talking about... Come on, Johnny.
It is.
We're talking about crying.
Crying, okay.
So if you encounter somebody who's crying, that's going to be in the next session or the next show. So please tune in, join us.
It'll be interesting, we think.
We promise.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Ordinary People, Extraordinary Connections with Leanne and John. Connect with us via Facebook at Fortitude at Work. We'd love to hear your thoughts on today's show. See you next time.